300 million gallons. That's how much raw sewage and industrial waste flows into Houston's bayous every single year. Not accidentally, not during hurricanes. Every single year, under normal conditions, the fourth largest city in America is dumping the equivalent of 450 Olympic swimming pools worth of untreated waste directly into the waterways that run through neighborhoods where families live, where kids play, where people fish for dinner. This is December 2025, and Houston officials just admitted they have no plan to fix it. Let's start with what bayous actually are. Bayous are slow-moving creeks that drain the flat coastal plain where Houston sits. The city has over 2,500 miles of bayous, more waterways than Venice. Buffalo Bayou runs right through downtown. Bray's Bayou winds through the medical center. These are not decorative water features. They are the only drainage system keeping the city from drowning every time it rains. Houston gets 50 inches of rain per year. There are no hills, no natural drainage, nowhere for water to go except through the bayous and out to Galveston Bay. When the bayous fail, the entire city floods. But here is what nobody talks about. Between the big storms, the bayous are already failing because they are clogged with garbage, sediment, and human waste. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality released a report in October 2025 that should have made national news. 82% of Houston's bayou segments tested in 2024 failed to meet federal water quality standards. Not some of them, 82%. The primary contaminants are E. coli from sewage, heavy metals from industrial runoff, and trash. The sewage problem is the most immediate health crisis. Houston's sewer system was built in the 1950s and the 1960s, when the city had 800,000 people. Today, Houston has 2.3 million people. The sewer pipes were not designed for this load. They are cracked, they are collapsing, and during heavy rains, they overflow directly into the bayous. The city recorded 3,847 sanitary sewer overflows in 2024. That's more than 10 per day. Each overflow dumps thousands of gallons of raw sewage directly into the water. The Houston Health Department tested Bray's Bayou near the medical center in August and found E. coli levels 400 times higher than what is considered safe for human contact. 400 times. That means if you fall in that water, you are going to the hospital. But people are fishing in these bayous. Families throw birthday parties at bayou parks. Kayakers paddle through downtown thinking they are enjoying nature. They have no idea what they are floating through. Carol Haddock, director of Houston's Water and Wastewater Department, told City Council in September that fixing the sewer system would cost $3.8 billion and take at least 15 years. The city's annual budget for water infrastructure is $180 million. Do the math. Houston would need to more than double its infrastructure spending every year for the next 2 decades just to fix the sewage problem, and that is not happening. Meanwhile, the industrial waste keeps coming. Houston has over 4,700 permitted industrial facilities within the city limits. Chemical plants, refineries, metal fabricators, and manufacturing operations are legally allowed to discharge wastewater into the bayous. The permits are supposed to limit what goes into the water, but enforcement is a joke. The Harris County Pollution Control Department inspected 287 industrial facilities in 2024. They found violations at 194 of them. That is 68% breaking the rules. The fines are laughably small. A chemical plant that discharged 50,000 gallons of contaminated cooling water into Greens Bayou in March paid $12,000 in fines. The cleanup cost the county $400,000, which comes out of taxpayer money. Then there is the trash. Buffalo Bayou Partnership removed 47 tons of garbage from a 3-mile stretch in 2024. That includes plastic bottles, shopping carts, tires, furniture, and thousands of plastic bags. The bags hang from tree branches like Spanish moss. They clog drainage grates. They wrap around the legs of wading birds and strangle them. Where does all this trash come from? Illegal dumping, mostly. Houston does not have enough trash collection service in low-income neighborhoods. People who cannot afford private trash service dump their garbage wherever they can. The bayous become unofficial landfills. The city knows about it. They have known for decades. Nobody wants to pay for more frequent trash pickup in poor neighborhoods, so the garbage ends up in the water. The flooding connection is critical here. When bayous are clogged with sediment, trash, and debris, they cannot move water efficiently. After Hurricane Harvey, the Army Corps of Engineers studied why certain areas flooded so severely. One of their findings was that Buffalo Bayou's capacity had been reduced by 30% because of sediment buildup and debris. 30% less capacity means homes that would have stayed dry in previous floods now go underwater. Climate change is making everything worse. The 100-year storm that used to happen once a century now happens every 15 to 20 years, according to Rice University research. The bayous were never designed for this. Add the fact that Houston has paved over thousands of acres of prairie that used to absorb rainfall, and you have a city that is drowning in its own waste. The public health consequences are already showing up. Emergency room visits for gastrointestinal illness spike every time there is a major rain event. Doctors at Texas Children's Hospital documented a 40% increase in pediatric cases of waterborne parasites in the 2 weeks following heavy rains in May 2025. Kids are getting sick because they are playing near bayous that look like harmless creeks but are actually open sewers. Property values are starting to reflect the crisis. Homes along Brays Bayou and Sims Bayou have seen values drop 8 to 12% since 2022, according to Harris County Appraisal District data. Buyers are realizing that bayou-adjacent property means flood risk and health hazards, not scenic water views. The people who cannot afford to move are stuck living next to contaminated water that is making their families sick. Here is what makes the situation especially infuriating. Houston keeps approving new development without requiring developers to upgrade infrastructure. The city added 300,000 residents between 2020 and 2025. Every one of those people flushes toilets, generates trash, and creates runoff. But the bayous have not gotten bigger, and the sewer pipes have not been replaced. The city is just cramming more people and more waste into a system that was already failing 20 years ago. Mayor John Whitmire acknowledged the problem in his October State of the City address. He said Houston is facing an infrastructure crisis that threatens the city's future. Then the city council passed a budget that cut funding for bayou maintenance by $3 million. So the mayor's priority lasted exactly as long as it took to pass a budget. The federal government is not helping either. The Environmental Protection Agency designated several Houston bayous as impaired waters back in 2019, which should have triggered mandatory cleanup plans. 6 years later, those plans still have not been implemented. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality has 40 inspectors covering the entire Houston metro area. 40 inspectors for a region of 7 million people with thousands of industrial facilities and 2,500 miles of waterways. Environmental justice activists have been screaming about this for years. Brays Bayou runs through some of the poorest neighborhoods in Houston. Places like Gulfton, where the median household income is under $30,000. These communities are majority Latino and Asian immigrant families whose complaints get ignored. When affluent neighborhoods along Buffalo Bayou near Memorial Park had flooding issues, the city spent $60 million on infrastructure upgrades within 3 years. Gulfton has been asking for help since Hurricane Ike in 2008. They are still waiting. What Houston needs is a comprehensive infrastructure overhaul that costs tens of billions of dollars and takes decades to complete. The city needs to replace aging sewer lines, expand drainage capacity, enforce environmental regulations, and increase trash collection in underserved neighborhoods. None of this is happening. The political will does not exist. The money is not there. And the people suffering the most do not have enough power to force action. So 300 million gallons of waste keeps flowing into Houston's bayous every year. The water that is supposed to protect the city from flooding is instead carrying disease, destroying property values, and creating a public health crisis that officials have admitted they cannot solve. Families living along these bayous are trapped between water that makes them sick and a government that will not help them. This is what infrastructure collapse looks like in real time. Not some dramatic, sudden failure, but a slow degradation that everybody knows about, that everybody agrees is terrible, and that nobody has the resources or political courage to fix. Houston's bayous are dying, and they are taking neighborhoods with them. Have you noticed flooding or water quality issues getting worse in your area? Drop your experience in the comments. If you want to see more investigations into infrastructure failures that are being ignored, hit that subscribe button.